In this demo, we'll focus on the most important part of Period Comparison Chart Plus, configuring comparison layers. Layers are the time periods you want to compare. The first layer is the anchor period, usually based on the current display time. The other layers are generated from that anchor period, for example, yesterday, last week, or the same day last year. I'll open the configuration and go to Layers. For most dashboards, I'll use Dynamic Mode. Dynamic Mode automatically creates the comparison periods, so the chart keeps working as the display time changes. The main choices are: Period type decides what kind of period we are comparing. Use display time when you want to compare the exact selected time range, such as the current 8-hour shift versus the previous 8-hour shift. Use calendar when you want clean business periods like days, weeks, months, or years. Count controls how many periods are shown. A count of 2 means the current period plus 1 comparison period. A count of 4 could mean this year plus the previous 3 years. Direction is usually set to past because most comparisons look backward. Shift by controls how each layer moves away from the anchor period. Use period when each layer should shift by the length of the selected period. Use calendar when each layer should shift by a calendar amount, like 1 day, 1 month, or 1 year. First, let's configure a simple today versus yesterday comparison. For this scenario, I'll use Dynamic Mode, calendar period type, a duration of 1 day, a count of 2, direction set to past, and shift by set to calendar, 1 day. This creates 1 layer for today and 1 layer for yesterday. This is useful on operator displays because it answers a very practical question. Are we tracking like yesterday at the same point in the day? If today is drifting earlier or later than yesterday, the difference is visible immediately. Next, let's compare today with the same calendar day last year. The setup is similar, but the shift changes. I'll use Dynamic Mode, calendar period type, a duration of 1 day, a count of 2, direction set to past, and shift by set to calendar, 1 year. Now the first layer is today, and the second layer is the equivalent day 1 year ago. This is useful when the process has seasonal behavior. For example, energy usage, environmental conditions, production demand, or utility loads may look very different yesterday, but the same day last year may be a more meaningful comparison. Now let's build a year-over-year comparison. For this, I'll use Dynamic Mode, calendar period type, a duration of 1 year, a count of 3 or 4, direction set to past, and shift by set to calendar, 1 year. This gives us the current year and the previous years as separate layers. This is useful for seeing long-term performance patterns. You can compare this year against prior years and quickly see whether the current trend is above, below, or following the normal historical shape. For year-over-year views, the layer style matters. If I'm only using one data source, I'll usually distinguish layers by color. If I have multiple data sources, I'll use line style or opacity so data source colors stay meaningful. For many dashboards, I also turn on Highlight First Layer. This keeps the current or anchor period strong and fades the comparison layers. That makes the chart easier to read because the historical periods become context, while the current period remains the focus. Finally, I'll enable the Summary table. The table lets me hide or show individual layers. Click a row to focus on one layer and pin a layer. Pinning is useful when I find a specific reference period I want to keep. For example, if last year had a known good operating day, I can pin that layer and keep it visible even when the dynamic comparison changes. So the key idea is simple. Choose the anchor period, decide whether you need exact display time or calendar periods, set the layer count, and choose how far each layer shifts. Use 1-day shifts for today versus yesterday. Use 1-year shifts for same day last year comparisons. Use yearly calendar layers for year-over-year analysis. That is the core workflow for configuring layers in Period Comparison Chart Plus.